Good day everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to install a WeBoost Drive Reach OTR cell phone booster in my Sprinter van. And I'm going to do a custom mount for the antenna, which I want to show you. I've decided that I'd like to have the antenna swivel so I can put it down. I want it to be as tall as possible. And with my setup, I'm going to have about a little bit over 4 feet extension on my antenna from the top of the roof, which is around 10 feet. So I'm going to be up at 14 feet. It's a little higher than I want to drive around with, so I have decided to use a antenna swivel. And what I found was this stainless steel marine unit here, which is a pretty heavy duty unit, and it swivels down and then just locks like with this lever, and then I can stand it up and then lock it in the vertical position. So the problem I'm having is that these are very large threads, and this is the thread that comes with the Drive Reach. So this is a 3/8 by 24 thread, and this thread is 1 inch diameter, but it's actually, I'm told by my fastener guy, that this is pipe thread. So pipe thread is measured on the inside. So this is actually, although it measures 1 inch in diameter, it's a 3/4 pipe thread. I found a brass cap that's 3/4 pipe thread, and I have drilled a hole in it, a 3/8 hole, and put the antenna threads through it, and this way I can mount it to the 1 inch pipe. So this is what it looks like when it's all together. The Drive Reach OTR comes with two antenna extensions. I think one is, I don't know, this one's 2 feet, and then another shorter one here, which I'm going to stack on top of it, and then the antenna goes on top of that. And they also give you a spring. I technically, since my antenna swivels down, thusly, technically I don't need the spring as long as I remember to put the antenna down every time I use it. And I could potentially forget. So I'm going to use the spring. It also gives me a little more elevation, and it has this little slotted piece here that allows you to run your wire out. And adding that's another 3 inches. So I'm just trying to get as much height as I possibly can. So that's my antenna rig. I've got a ladder on side of the van, so I'm going to just be able to climb up the ladder, quickly deploy the antenna like that, and I'm good to go. The other challenge for this installation is that this is a completed van by Sync Vans, and it doesn't really appear to have any way to remove the roof and the roof lining and get at the wiring. So, and I'm not even sure where it is, so I'm going to have to figure that out. I do have solar panels on top of the roof, so I have a hole in the roof. I'm going to try to utilize that and run my wires through, and I might even, while I'm at it, just run an extra pair of wires up to the roof, so in case I want to have 12 volts up there for lights or video cameras or whatever I want to do to power those, I'll have 12 volts on the roof that I can use. So that's the plan, so let's get started. Alright, so I just want to show you what the components look like. This is the swivel mount with the 3/4 pipe threads, and this is the 3/4 pipe brass cap into which I have drilled a 3/8 hole, and I have a stainless nut and washer that are 3/8 by 24 threads, which are what is on this spring thing. So this guy goes onto here, and then the nut and washer go underneath. I'm going to tighten everything down and use some Loctite so they won't come loose. Okay, for the next step in the process, we've got to remove the cargo hook on the upper part of the B pillar, and also the D-ring that's at the bottom of the pillar. And this little plastic piece here unclips from the bottom, so you pry it up from the bottom and then it pulls off the holder there. And this is where they are. This is the top of the pillar, that's where the hook is, and then your cargo ring, D-ring, is down here. Now at this point, supposedly, you can pull it off, and then you need to address the seatbelt thing here. Okay, so that went pretty well. As you can see, I've got this free, and it hangs up a little bit on the seatbelt thing here, but I think I can just pull it aside, leave the seatbelt thing alone, and I can get all the way down to the bottom there and run my wire in. It'll come down the pillar, and then there's a couple places where I could fish the wire out. Down by the seatbelt here is a big hole. You just fish the wire out there and then run it down to my power. Okay, so now I've removed the cargo shelf, which sits on top of this guy here, and it screws up from underneath with Phillips screws. That's what the other side looks like. Once you take off this one on this side, it kind of can swing out of the way. So now we can have better access to get under here, and I can pull this away from the window a little bit. I may have to remove this front smaller little cargo thingy here so that I can pull this this felt trim here away. Okay, so now what I've done is I've removed this equivalent shelf here. This is the passenger side. I've removed the one that's on the driver's side. There's a couple of larger bolts there, and then there's a couple that go underneath here and it clips on. And then I've removed a couple of screws up here at the top of the liner on the roof, and now I have good access inside here. So I think I can drill a hole in the roof and bring my wires down the pillar. Okay, so to mount this puppy to the roof rails, there's two ways I could do it. One would be to drill centered holes in this swivel mount. As it is, it's got holes in the four corners. Or I could make a wood block, put my T-screws here in the center, countersink them, and then just screw this onto the top of it. And I've decided to go this route just because I didn't really want to drill holes in through this thing. And it's reinforced at the edges, so it's meant to have the holes at the corners. So yeah, I don't think it matters, but this is the way I'm doing it. All right, so we got that puppy screwed down, and WeBoost recommends that the outdoor antenna be as far away from the indoor antenna as possible, at least 10 feet. So that's why I mounted it pretty far back on the van. And then what I'm going to do is, the antenna will be 4 feet up. When it's not deployed, I'll rotate it and have it face forward toward the solar panels. Okay, so now it's time to screw on the antenna. Sorry about that music in the background. My coworkers got it cranked, but so the blue on there is Loctite. So we're using Loctite on all the antenna joints so they don't move around. Okay, so standing back, you can see how high that antenna is. It extends over 4 feet over the top of the van, which is around 10 feet. So I'm at about 14 feet with this setup here, which is pretty good. All right, so here's how it works. Get the cable out of the way here. It's going to go up front, and then so you can see how simple it is. Just the lever, you flip it up, lock it, and you're good to go. And it's pretty sturdy. I just figure at 14 feet it's a little high to drive with it, but I did use the spring that comes with the kit, so in case I, for some reason, forget to lay it down when I'm traveling, I have the protection from the spring will prevent it from damaging it if it hits anything low clearance. And just put it back down, lock it, and we are good. Okay, I want to show you guys how I did the roof thing now. Here's my solar inlet, and I elected to not try to add cables onto that, so I'm going to put a new gland right here over this, and you notice I've got two outputs there, and I only need one for the antenna. So what I've decided to do is to take this marine 16 gauge 2 conductor waterproof wire. Since I'm up here and doing this anyway, I'm going to run this up to the roof. This is a 5/8 hole saw that I use. It's on an angle because I have my solar panels, which I've just kind of raised up here so I can have access. So the angle thing enables me to drill the hole without completely removing my solar panels. And then you can see I just found a little silver paint, painted the bare metal so it doesn't rust. And then I'm going to also put some silicone on my grommet here. I'm going to put this rubber grommet there, and then run the wires down. And then this has 3M tape, which will seal, and it also has these 3 holes. I am going to go ahead and screw it down so it doesn't go anywhere, and then we'll follow up with some sealer. Alrighty, so now I got my grommet in there. I've got some silicone around it, and I'm going to fish my 2 wires through here inside the van, pull them through. Okay, so now we're inside the van. You can see I've had to pull down some of this headliner and my pillar cover, and I've had to unscrew this board here. What I'm going to do is reach in here and grab the wires with my hands. The wires come down just behind this light here, and so then I'll run them over to the pillar and then down to the floor and behind this cabinet, and then I can get over to my power, hopefully. Okay, before we put our gland on permanently, we got this lap sealant here, and we put it generously around the wires that go in. So I've got my 2 wires here. I got the white wires, the two conductor 16 gauge wire that I'll use for whatever I want to power on the roof, and then of course the black wire is the antenna wire. So those go into this guy and then through the roof, which is all sealed up, and then this gland cover has 3M stickum tape on it. So we're going to use that, and then also we're going to drill the 3 holes there. There's one there, and one around the other side. So we'll screw it, and then we'll come around with the lap sealant and do the perimeter of this guy. Alrighty, so now it's all screwed down. The 3M tape that came with this unit was super sticky. As soon as I put it down, it was on there pretty firm. I did wipe down this entire area with alcohol, so it was super clean and dry, and so it's got a really good stick. And now I'm going to go around with the lap seal and seal around the edges and also completely cover up the screws. Okay, so now it's all sealed up with the lap seal. So I've had the booster installed for a while, and I want to talk about the final installation, what it looks like, and also talk a little bit about how it works. You can see that I've run the wires down the pillar, and then the 12 volt goes back to the battery, and then the black cable goes directly to the cell phone booster unit, which goes inside the van. And then on the other side of the booster unit is the antenna, and it's a good idea to keep your phone very close to the antenna. I usually put my phone literally right on top of the antenna. You also notice that I put a USB and 12 volt combination system next to the booster, and that gave me a 12 volt source for the booster. Now the booster that I chose uses a 12 volt cigarette lighter plug-in. Some of the other ones you're going to see for RVs have 120 volts, so you have to put it in AC. Either way, whatever works for you. The other thing is the booster that I chose also uses this very small antenna versus the tabletop antenna that comes with the RV version. So I like this version, it works well for me. The other thing I would mention is on the top of the van, I eventually installed a full-size rack. I changed my solar panels to larger solar panels, and I put decking up there. So I simply moved that temporary mount that I had on the block of wood to a more permanent, directly to the deck mounted antenna, but the antenna functions the same way with the swivel. So how does it work? Well, you've probably heard 2 schools of thought on the cell phone booster. One is that they don't work at all, you're better off without it, and the other is that they work great. And actually both answers are right, but it's not the focus of this video to go in great detail, but what it boils down to is MIMO technology. MIMO means multiple in, multiple out. And the cell booster is a 1 antenna program, so it only has a single antenna. Your cell phone likely has at least 2 antennas, and some of the routers that you can buy these days and other hotspots may contain as many as 4 antennas. So if you're in an urban area that just has a weak signal but there's a lot of towers around, the cell phone booster may not be the answer for you because your cell phone might be taking a couple of different signals. But if you're like me and you go way out into the desert like Death Valley, there may only be a single tower. In that case, the cell phone booster works great. I've had really good results with it when I use it the right way. The secret is to speed test everything and then just figure out what system works best. Now the other thing to keep in mind is cell phone booster tends to transmit better, a lot better than your cell phone. So if you are uploading, sending information out, for example, you want to load a photo up to Instagram, you may find that the cell phone booster is better, but when you download from the internet, you may find that your cell phone alone is better. But for me, the cell phone booster works great, so I'm really happy with it. If your application is similar to mine, you're probably going to be happy with it. But anyway, I hope this helps you out. Your installation is going to be a little bit different, but this gives you a sense of what's involved in installing a booster on your van or vehicle. The other thing I would point out is that I chose to do the swivel system and have a 14-foot antenna. 2 things to note. One is you may be better off just using a 1-foot or an 18-inch extension and leaving it up all the time. That's what most people do, and that's fine. But I will point out that my antenna, when it's in the non-deployed position, in other words, it's folded down, it still works great. It's just that it's not as high as it is when I fold it up. So I can still use it on the road when I'm moving. I don't typically use my cell phone on the road when I'm moving, but a lot of people want to do that. So in that case, having the antenna up may be better for you. Anyway, again, I hope this helps. And if it does, give it the old like and thumbs up. And until next time, thanks for watching.